What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV. Back with another live stream. The day after, the day before, shall we say, when we tucked in Man United. And what a game yesterday. Somebody's just seen Diego Dallo sliding along the River Thames as he left the Emirates Stadium as Gabriel Jesus sent him packing. I actually thought it was Johnny Evans the whole time. But it turns out it was Dallo. And yeah, if anyone sees him sliding across the Thames, don't feel no way, people. You know, Gabriel Jesus, he had to do what he had to do. The amount of respect I'm showing today, last minute before we start the stream, I'm like, damn, I've got to do a Declan Rice green screen. I needed to edit it to move him to the side a little bit. I've done it at the last minute. And I've had to move to the side. So I'm streaming from the side. I'm an inverted streamer today, people. I'm starting central, but I'm ending up at right back. That's the kind of respect that I'm showing to Declan Rice. What a performance from Deckers yesterday. And he got his first goal. I mean, it was that good yesterday. I had to go to the Emirates just to soak up some of the feeling after the game, man. It was shameless, but it was necessary, people. Roller coaster of emotion. You know, sometimes you do these streams and you look back on yourself and the streams and you think, man, I don't know what was going through my mind at that stage. I think when we conceded the second goal that was disallowed, I think I was actually calling for Arteta to be sacked. I mean, I was in my feelings yesterday. It was like a Drake album. I can't lie, people. I was fuming. But by the end of it, shameless celebrations. It is what it is. Roller coaster of emotions. Forgive me, Mikel. But yo, you know, we don't need to make it that difficult. But we got there in the end. You know, I'll see you when you get there. If you ever get there. Big tune. But you know what I mean? When we get there, it's all good, people. But anyway, United got tucked in yesterday. Happy days. As you're saying, King Henry, 10 points out of 12. Should have been 12 if we're being honest. But, you know, in the 89th minute when Garnacho scored, we'd have all taken the victory. So happy days. We've got a lot to talk about today. Billy Brumble said, sack him on the super chat. I know, listen, the P45 was being typed, but, you know, we've put it in the drawer. No problem. It's in an envelope. So no problem, Mikel. You continue as you was. But anyway, what a great victory yesterday. We got a few things to talk about before we talk about the game. The game and the press conference reaction will take a little while. You randomly touched Robbie's head in that fan cam was too funny. He had to rub the genie's head, you know what I mean? It was just one of them magic moments, you know what I mean? But yeah, there was a great feeling down there at the Emirates yesterday as well. And the Armoury was actually closed when I got there, so there was no merch purchases. Probably did me a favour, to be honest. Just imagine the scenes had we won the title. We'd still be celebrating now. We probably wouldn't have even watched the first few games. It is what it is. But anyway, we've got lots to talk about today. We'll do press conference reaction, player ratings, and all of that good stuff, people. But Declan Rice, man, oh, what a performance from him yesterday. I think at one stage, I called Kai Havertz the donkey out of Shrek. I think Eddie Murphy does the voiceovers for him. To be honest, I think the donkey out of Shrek would have done better than that Kai Havertz finish. He might have just fell over into the ball and got it in. But it is what it is. We'll talk about Havertz in the player rated. Amaru said, big up the community. Damn, Arteta is one stubborn fella. Glad to get the win. You're right. Rosh said, missing. 24-year-old German male, 6'4", shaggy hair, casual demeanour. When found, please return to West London. You're not wrong, bro. You're not wrong. We haven't even seen Kai Havertz yet, to be honest. Beresford production, big up with a super chat. Big C, just as I was digging into my steak and egg fried rice last night, guess who scored? Should have had Indomie instead. I'm telling you, the rice settings, man. Big up Cooper with a super chat. Great finish. Havertz is rubbish. When is the last time ESR played? Pre-season tour. Pre-season tour was the last time he played. I actually interviewed him in America and he was speaking about how much he was excited for the season. And in return, he doesn't kick a ball, but it is what it is. Big up Guna Motley, who said, big up Curtis and C Unit. What a game yesterday. Come on, you Gunners. Where is African Giant? Yeah, he was in the chat, to be fair, yesterday. He took his medicine. At least the donkey makes waffles, says Sin. Anyway, let's get into the show today. Before we get into yesterday's game, a couple of bits of breaking news. One from the last half an hour, one from a couple of hours ago. We'll start with the more recent one. So if you saw a few changes to the title, that is why, because things were developing as the show was about to begin. But the breaking news of the last hour is Nicolas Pepe's time at Arsenal is coming to an end. There were rumours over the last couple of weeks. There was a possibility. Could he come back? It never really sounded like it when Arteta was talking about him in the press conference. He wasn't even training with the team. Didn't even go on the pre-season tour. L'Équipe have announced Nicolas Pepe will join Besiktas. The player passed a medical in Paris earlier today. Pepe has accepted Besiktas' proposal in recent hours after initially rejecting them in this transfer window. Now, there are two reports, though. One report is saying that Pepe will join on a free and that Arsenal will terminate his contract. That will then enable to Besiktas to match the wage that he's currently getting, which would probably make sense because Besiktas couldn't match the wage. There is another report, though, Graham Bailey online saying that Arsenal will receive a nominal fee believed to be around £5 million for Nicolas Pepe. I mean, either way he's going, I would probably imagine we're hardly getting anything for him, because if they couldn't afford his wage with a fee before, what has changed? I don't know. Listen, for me, Pepe is a difficult one, because when he played at times, he really frustrated me with his lack of intensity, his lack of aggression on the ball. But I think in the situation that we're in, I'm going to be totally honest, from two situations. Number one, I think he's better than what we're getting out of Kai Havertz at the moment. And number two, you saw yesterday the danger of no competition for Bukayo Saka is probably not helping him. And I wouldn't have mind Pepe coming off the bench for 20 minutes yesterday on the right when Saka's not playing particularly well. Nelson, as you saw yesterday, came on the left again. He is better on the left. And Ash, like you said, I think Darren Bent was talking about on the radio, he's got better numbers than Sancho and Anthony, who both cost more and are both currently at their club, although Sancho may not be at Man United for much longer after what he did yesterday with that statement. But I would have considered, honestly, keeping Pepe at least until January. I suppose the problem is in January, he's got 6 months left on his contract, and these clubs could sign him on a pre-contract. But it is what it is. Him and Arteta clearly don't get along. Do you know what? I'm going to put a poll up. Let's get a first poll of the day. I suppose it's a little bit irrelevant because he's leaving. But I want to know in the comments, would you have kept Nicolas Pepe in the current situation that we're in, even if it would have been till January? I'm going to be honest, I would have kept Pepe till January. I would have. Because we have no competition there. Would you have kept Pepe at Arsenal? Even if it's till January. I would have kept him till January. But I do also understand why they've let him go. You know, clearly him and the manager, for whatever reason, is not a good mix. I just don't think they get on. But so it is what it is. Like I said, there's two reports. One saying that he's going on a free, which would be a termination of the contract, which probably would mean we would have to pay Pepe part of his wage to leave. The other one saying we're getting around 5 million. I mean, either way, 5 million is peanuts for a guy that we paid 72 million pounds for. It is a huge financial loss. Sweg, listen, Sweg crew is finally over. It was like, what, Aubameyang, Guendouzi, Pepe, Maitland-Niles, maybe a bit of Lacazette as well. Team Sweg is officially over, people. None of that. Yeah, interesting. Cedric is still at the club. Surely they get rid of him before the Turkish window closes or the Saudi window. Why couldn't Arteta coach Pepe? The interesting thing is that he's actually always sort of, when he's spoken about Pepe, he's never really been that critical of him. But and even Pepe said in pre-season how he got on all right with him. But I just don't think. I think it was more a clash of personalities and styles. Pepe is a very laid-back character. And, you know, I don't think Arteta likes that. But then I say that, Kai Havertz is a very laid-back character as well. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, people saying in the comments he was criticised by his dad, saying that, you know, his attitude he wasn't hungry enough to become a top player. Always seemed to be my problem with Pepe. But listen, whether we should have kept him or not is irrelevant at this stage. He's leaving. He's going to Besiktas over there in Turkey. They're going to match his wage. And best of luck to him. Something that I thought was quite incredible was he's 28 years of age. I honestly didn't know he was that age. I thought he was 2 or 3 years younger than that. Was 28. But yeah, Pepe on his way out of Arsenal. Will Cedric go? And how has El Neni survived, by the way? Quietly hidden in the background. Anthony said, on a different note, it was kind of nice seeing Maitland-Niles playing for Lyon last night versus PSG, even though they got piped him. And obviously Lacazette are there. Listen, I hope he does well over there in France. He's finally gone. Pepe on his way out was the record signing before Declan Rice. Cooper said Saka was awful yesterday. I forgot Saka. He never gets subbed. Never brings him off. Amaf said, I've watched an interview with him in France. He was saying he had a tough time because he was speaking English and understanding the tactics. Yeah. I think sometimes people they forget that. Imagine moving to a country right now where you can't speak the language. How difficult that is to get used to it, you know. But listen, here's what it is. Pepe on his way to Besiktas. And at least we saved the 140 grand a week wages. But the window's closed anyway. So it's not like we can benefit from that right now. But, you know, maybe in January we can bring another player in. Let's see. T.I. said, hey, Curtis, I'm surprised no one mentions the fact the club wants to balance the books. Pepe's wage is one of the easier targets for them. Sad to see the club treat him this way. Yeah, listen, they're always going to want to balance the books, but equally we have to make sure the squad is set out right, yes, you know, throughout the season. And at the moment, do we have a right winger? El Neni survives. Cedric may survive. What's the difference? I suppose, number one, those guys don't mind sitting on the bench. They're happy to be at Arsenal collecting their money, where Pepe probably wants game time. And also their attitude is like, hey, big up Gunter here, man. He said, El Neni says how high when Arteta says jump. And that's the difference. But I do think Arteta at some stage is going to have to learn to manage difficult characters, because some of the best players are the most difficult to manage. You look at, you know, people say Thierry Henry had a bad attitude at times in the changing room. They called Anelka Lasuk. You know, Alexis Sanchez fell out with numerous players. You look at Luis Suarez at Liverpool. You look at Rooney at Man United. These guys are not easy to manage, but they're top players. So, yeah, it is what it is on that front. Big up Fitz. Hope you're well, bro. He said Havertz's miss was awful. His dive was bad and cowardly. He gave the ball away for the Mank goal, although I did miss him moving into spaces, and his pressing. Jesus' finish for his goal was filthy. I think the whole space invader argument for Kai Havertz is disappearing very quickly. Arteta says we've got to show him love. The get along gang are saying we don't see what he does off the ball. I saw what he did on the ball yesterday, and it stunk, people. You know, you need some Febreze to clear that mess out. It stunk out the place. Missing a volley from 8 yards out. Listen, I'm gonna wait until player ratings anyway. But big up yourself, Fitz. Let's concentrate more on the Gabriel Jesus finish. Again, I'm gonna speak about it in player ratings. That is my favourite Gabriel Jesus goal. It's the chop. It's the chop. The way he sent Dalot sliding. I was going crazy because I actually was thinking, why is he slowing down? Dalot's going to block the shot. Little do I know, he chops him. He sends him back to Lisbon. and just sits down and on. I mean, that was a moment. Anyone who didn't watch the watch along, just go back and watch the clips. I was going absolutely crazy yesterday. Jay from New Jersey, El Neni is the last remaining Wenger signing of aside from Youth Academy. Is that right? That's unbelievable. The only part of Wenger left at the club is El Neni. How on earth has El Neni survived, by the way? I don't know. But listen, and somebody said it in the comments about Jesus. I actually think Jesus has got potential world-class levels to his game. It's the consistency. His first touch, his hold-up play, his skill, his movement is fantastic. He's just got to stay fit. And he's got to turn 11, 12 goals into 20 goals if he wants to be considered a world-class striker. That's the only difference. Munib said the very best players have attitude. Mbappe, Henry, Suarez, Ibra, Ronaldinho, lazy during training. You know what? Ronaldinho was actually given extra days off when Frank Rijkaard was the manager because he said he was so lethargic and laid back at times. It actually wasn't a good example to set to some of the young players. And he said he was that good, he didn't actually need to train every day. They just said to him, just stay fit. You're that good. You don't even need to be here every day. So you've got to learn to manage tough characters. And I want to see that from Arteta moving forward. Sheldon said, Big C, I think we didn't manage Pepe properly to make him a top player. I think it's a combination of both. I think he was mismanaged, but I also think he lacked the hunger as well when he was on the pitch. Zeke said, big up Big C, and the community still gassed from yesterday, but we need to push on and learn to kill teams off. 100% right. I sat there at half-time and I said, listen, Man United would be losing this game if they were playing Liverpool at Anfield or City at the Etihad. We've got to finish teams off. And you know, that's something that can come back and bite you at times. O'Malley said, Kai Havertz has been bad, but at least he's in the right position. Take him out the starting 11, but he is an Arsenal player. It feels like some fans want him to fail. Let's hope that confidence kicks in. Listen, let's hope so. Football is fine margins. It's moments. You know, a ball hits the post and goes out. You're a villain. The ball hits the post and goes in. You're the hero. If Kai Havertz had scored yesterday and we'd won the game because of his goal, or, you know, we could actually be sitting there today with him on the green screen and celebrating him. You know, that's the fine margins. His confidence is on the floor. He didn't look confident when he left Chelsea because their fan base was criticising him. So he's gone in a situation where Chelsea want him out, they don't rate him. He's got a little bit of folklore because he scored in the Champions League final. But Chelsea fans were happy for Havertz to go. So he's not wanted there. He's come to another club where before he kicked a ball, we were already saying, we don't want this guy. We don't like him. He's ex-Chelsea. He's been poor. He's going from one toxic situation to another. And I think it's reflecting on the pitch. And I also think the role that he's playing in is not his best position. I honestly don't believe Kai Havertz is a midfielder. Not in the Premier League. I think if you played him in the 10 role with two centre mids behind him and a striker in front of him, you may get something better out of him. But we're playing one lone 6 with two attacking mids, so he has to defend. And that's not his game. However, you're missing a volley from 8 yards out under no pressure. That is unacceptable. I agree with what people are saying, though. Constructive criticism is fine. Abuse is wrong, you know. And we've got to just hope that something happens that's positive with him. But I do think you've got to take him out of the starting 11. Anyway, let's get into... before we get into the game, actually, the final piece of news... And this isn't good news for Arsenal regarding Thomas Partey. He was injured in training on Thursday. There were rumours he would be out for 2 weeks. Sami Mokbel, who is usually pretty good with his sources for the Daily Mail, has said that Thomas Partey, Arsenal hope to have midfielder Thomas Partey back after the October international break. He is set to miss at least 6 weeks with a groin/thigh thigh injury. So the man has literally injured 2 parts of his leg in one, and he will be out for at least 6 weeks. This is damning. This is absolutely damning for Arsenal, because just to give you a breakdown, during that time, while he'll be out, they're saying he'll be out until after the next international break. So So in the meantime, we play Everton away, PSV at home in the Champions League, Tottenham at home in the North London Derby, Brentford away in the Carabao Cup, Bournemouth away, Lens away in the Champions League, and Manchester City at home before the next international break in October. So he misses the North London Derby and he misses Manchester City at home. He also misses 2 Champions League games. So a huge loss for Arsenal. I was arguing with people last week on Twitter saying I think we made a massive mistake not signing another midfielder. And people were saying, we got Rice, we got Partey, we got Jorginho. I said, 3 high-level centre mids is not enough. And Jorginho is 31, nearly 32. You know, El Nenny's our 4th choice. Liverpool have 6 centre midfielders. We've got 3 that I consider that I would pick for big games. You cannot rely on Thomas Partey. You just can't. You've got to get other options in. It's a big loss. It's a big, big loss. And I think the frustration is it's been a regular occurrence of the last 4 seasons that he's been at the club. So it'll be a big loss. E. Ross said, Curtis, I demand to see Thomas Partey's passport. Oh, man, it's not good. 30 years of age. The Premier League, man, it can take it out of you, but it's a big loss, man. So he'll be out for at least 6 weeks. Gary said, people are DMing Havertz, giving him abuse, expecting him to shine on the pitch. Clueless, I didn't want Havertz. If you want him to succeed, turn it in. You're right. Listen, abuse is way too much. And sending him a DM ain't going to help, is it? So Nick said, exactly, Big C, our squad depth is still short. All I'm hoping now is that we can get to January and strengthen in January, because I do think we need to go into the market. Left ourselves a bit short there, that is for sure. Let me end this poll. Would you have kept Nicolas Pepe? 62% of you saying yes, you would have kept him. 38% saying no. Time over. Move him on. So, yeah, we move on. Anyway, let's talk about yesterday's game. Richard said, I think yesterday was a worrying performance if we want to win the league. You could even say Spurs look better. Listen. I think we know that the manager has created some teething problems by trying to change the system. But 10 points out of 12 is definitely a building block for us to move forward and hopefully sets us up a little bit better. And like we did yesterday. So let's talk about yesterday's game. I have to say the best game of the Premier League season so far. Not just saying that. I think even for a neutral, you would have enjoyed that game. That last 10 minutes, man, was absolutely crazy. 12 minutes actually. United had the goal disallowed, then we scored, and then we scored again. It was a roller coaster of emotions, that game yesterday, and lots of twists and turns, people, to be honest. And listen, for me, the result was absolutely magnificent. Like, it was outstanding considering the way that the game went. But what I do think is there are some teething problems, and we do need to tweak 1 or 2 things. The good thing was, in the end, we ended up with more possession, 55%. United had more possession in the first half. 17 shots on goal, 5 on target. 3 goals out of 5 shots on target is good. And 2 yellow cards, no red. 87% pass accuracy as well, which is decent. So, listen, the time added on is going to create a lot of late goals in the Premier League this year, because fatigue kicks in, towards the end of games. Defenders switch off, start to make mistakes, and these things happen. So anyway, let's go through the player ratings of yesterday's game. And you know how it goes. We read out a name. I watched a lot of the game back to try and figure out, because some of the players I was a little bit like, does this guy get... So I've written down some numbers, but we lean on the community and see what you guys think as well. Aaron Ramsdale, yesterday, Um, I'm going to be honest. When I first saw the goal, I thought maybe he should have done better with it. I think I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think Rashford gets a good strike on it. I would give him a 6 because I still do have a slight lingering feeling that he could have... we conceded 2 goals, so I'm going to give him a 6. It's difficult for me to give him much higher than that. He didn't make too many, amazing saves or anything, but I'm not going to blame him for the goal. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He had 2 defenders in his way. And listen, Man United scored one of their 2 shots on target, so he didn't have a lot to do, to be honest. Some people saying I still want to see Raya and see the difference. I think the thing is, though, that Raya... Oh, sorry, we conceded 1, sorry, not 2. The Garnacho one was offside. I don't think Ramsdale has done enough to justify being dropped at the moment, I think David Raya will play in that Carabao Cup game against Brentford later on this month. Jay Blue said his positioning was poor for the goal. I thought he was a little bit high. He was on the edge of the 6-yard box. Yeah, Eros, he was offside. So I'm going to give Ramsdale a 6 because we conceded, and he was okay. James Bond said Ramsdale could have taken 2 more steps over when Rashford was cutting in, possibly. Made a save and pushed it straight to Rashford. You're right on that. I think it was Martial. He palmed it into the danger zone. So I'm going to give him a 6. Which I think is fair. It's an average performance. Let's go through the back 4. Let's start with Zinchenko. I thought Zinchenko was good yesterday. I thought he was good. I thought you see that we look more comfortable on the ball when Zinchenko is in this team. And my hope is just that he can stay fit for the majority or all of the season. I thought he did well. I thought Anthony did nothing. He usually does nothing as well, to be honest, but he kept him quiet. And I thought he did well on the ball. Listen, I thought he played really well, Zinchenko. Do you know what? I'm going to give Zinchenko a 7.5. Considering he missed the whole of pre-season, he's up against Anthony, who can be a bit of a live wire, and you're expecting him to invert as well. And at times, he was over on the right-hand side of midfield. I thought he played well. I'll give him a 7.5. Zinny definitely improves our quality on the ball, and I'll give him a 7.5. I thought he was solid. Let's go to Ben White. At right back. Ben White one is a bit 50-50 for me. I thought Ben White struggled at times against Rashford. What I realised last season was Ben White tried to get very close to Rashford last year and be aggressive, and he was getting done. He got booked and got, dragged last year. So this time he gave him a lot of space. I'm going to give Ben White a 6 because I think it's listen, for me, Rashford is United's most dangerous player in a counter-attacking side. He scored. I do think Ben White should have done slightly better with the goal. He got done in the second half, but he puts an outstanding cross in for Saka in the second half. Saka should finish his dinner and score that. So I'm going to give Ben White a 6. I thought he struggled at times against Rashford, but he should have got an assist. But listen, for me, when you get Rashford in that position on the left, you can't let him drift onto his right foot. I'd much rather you show him down the line, even if he shoots with his left foot from that angle. I could have marked him down, but we won, and, he should have had an assist, so I'll give him a sympathy 6. Let's talk about William Saliba. I thought Saliba played well. I don't think he was as good as Gabriel. I think Saliba on the goal was a little bit at fault as well. Ben White, he was basically behind him. He should have stepped to the side a little bit more, but, it wasn't his man to be marking at the end of the day. He came over to help. So I'm still going to give Saliba a 7. I thought he had a solid game. Wasn't troubled at all by Martial. And Saliba's just quality on the ball. No yellow card. Class in possession. I'll give him a 7 for Saliba. We weren't troubled centrally by United. But yeah, he was basically in line with Ben White for the goal. He should have moved a little bit, but I'll give Saliba a 7 out of 10. Let's go to Gabriel. Gabriel Magalhaes. There was rumours, a week ago that he was potentially going to be sold. I said there's no way I would sell this boy. This boy is quality. He's in the Brazil squad. He's aggressive. He basically contributed massively to us winning the game yesterday. If he doesn't do that little move to play Garnacho offside, we're doing Arsenal therapy right now, and I'm shouting down this microphone. So, listen, people say the bozo gene at times. Yesterday, we saw the IQ improve. He was aggressive with Martial. He was aggressive with Højlund. I thought Højlund looked pretty good when he came on. I'm going to give Gabriel at 8.5. Fine margins in football. He doesn't do that little move forward, and we lose the game 2-1. So I thought, considering he hasn't played the first 3 games, and he could have been, sulking, I should be in the team, I'm going to give him an 8.5. I thought Gabriel was our best defender yesterday, to be honest. Real leader in my opinion. Let's go into the midfield. I'm looking at all 3. I'm like, how do we start? I think we just get it out the way from now. Let's get it over and done with. I'm talking about. Let's just get this one, and then we'll just deal with some of the more positive ones. But where do we go from here? Let's be honest. This was his worst performance since he's played for Arsenal, and I don't think he's played that well in the other games, but this was brutal. You miss a sitter from 8 yards, you give the ball away that leads to the goal being conceded, and you then dive for a penalty when you're clearly in on goal. It doesn't get much worse than that, really, does it? And then you get dragged off, and then the team wins the game after you've been dragged off. Does it get much worse than that? It's basically the reverse of a 10 out of 10 performance. It's an absolute shocker. I'm almost tempted to give him 0. It's that bad. He did a good block at one stage, but I don't even know what to say. It's a nightmare on Elm Street. He's had an absolute Freddy Krueger. What do we give him? A 1 for turning up? He turned up. It's a shocker. It's an absolute shocker from him. I was trying to just get a video, actually, of the position that he was in when he tries to earn that penalty, just so we can just quickly look at it. Why on earth did he try and win a penalty from that position? It just shows that the boy's got no confidence whatsoever. He's got no reason to even try and initiate the contact and win the penalty. All he's got to do is he's basically through. When you look at the position, right, here we go. I'm going to go full screen and come off this one, actually. I can see your comments. Some 2.9, 2 out of 10. The crazy thing about this from Kai Havertz, when you look at this, is he could have scored from this situation. Look at the position that the guy... He's gone past Wan-Bissaka. He's gone past Casemiro. He's in on goal. He's probably just behind the penalty spot in terms of distance. He's on his left foot. Have one little touch out your feet and drill that in the bottom corner past Onana, and all of a sudden we're celebrating him. And he decides in that position to drag his leg onto Wan-Bissaka's leg and try and get a penalty. What on earth are you doing? It's like seeing £5 on the floor when you've got £20 in your hand and throwing the £20 and picking up the £5. It makes no sense. You're in. You're 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper, bro. This could have been his moment. You've missed the sitter, but you've just ran past Wan-Bissaka and Casemiro. You smash it in the bottom corner. We're going crazy. It's absolutely criminal what he did yesterday. Honestly, and I'm not saying this to just be cruel or, he had an absolute shocker. I would probably say... I'd probably give him 1 out of 10. I'm tempted to even say a 0. It was a shocker. It's the reverse of a 10 out of 10 man of the match performance. He had an absolute shocker. Misses a sitter, dives when he's 1-on-1 and doesn't even get the penalty, and gives the ball away, what leads to the goal. He had an absolute nightmare. And when he gets dragged, we win the game. It could not have gone worse for him. He must have smashed a window or something, because his luck is completely out right now. I'm going to give him a 1 out of 10 for turning up on the pitch. You know, he was that bad yesterday. I'm surprised he had his socks on properly. Like, you know, nothing went right for him. He probably had his left foot boot on his right foot, and it was all over the place. I give him 1 out of 10. Give him 1 out of 10. It's a nightmare. I don't want to talk. People saying don't be cruel, but bro, like, I mean, Marcus saying generous. You know, but anyway, there we go. Havertz, 1 out of 10 for simply turning up. At least he got to the ground on time. He got his car park space. He's a space invader, people. But yeah, here's what it is. 10 out of 10 if he gets the pen. Well, it's a big if, innit? Let's hope he has a good international break. Yeah, go and score for Germany and come back with some confidence. Pepe got hammered for less. You're right. Fly Havertz is our new sponsor. We need to be starting ESR over Havertz. I don't know if it's the signing effect, but Arteta needs to realise the signing isn't what he thought. We have been done in by Chelsea. It looks like it. 65 million down the drain, but hope he proves us wrong. At the moment, we've been absolutely stitched. This is a pyramid scheme. Someone's called you off a private number, convinced you to put your life savings into a pyramid scheme, and your money's disappeared. Like, we've been scammed. Things can change. You know, maybe we'll get a check through the post for treble our money. But at the moment, we've been ripped off. You know, but we'll see. Give him time. Show him love. Put him on the bench is all you can do at the moment. Let's go to the other two anyway. Let's go to the other two people. All right, things get better from here anyway. Things can only get better. Can only get... Let me stop that. And I think you're right, Latte. Like, if we want to learn one thing, it's maybe don't buy players from Chelsea. It hasn't gone that well so far, you know. David Luiz, who was actually not that bad, but still wasn't great. Peter Cech, who was an old man. Willian, the most expensive free transfer in history. This Chelsea thing doesn't quite work out how we want it to. I think you know, how many times do we need to be burnt before we realise we shouldn't put our hand on the fireplace? Like, it doesn't make no sense. We give them Giroud and Ashley Cole. They give us Yossi Benayoun, Peter Cech, and Willian, you know, make it make sense. Declan Rice. Declan Bomber Clark Rice. You sold your star to Mikel Arteta. This boy is fantastic. He's gone up a level already. Oh, yeah, and Gallas, by the way. And Jorginho. I mean, Jorginho's okay, but still. Declan Rice was man of the match yesterday. He was the best player on the pitch. He played in the 6 role by himself. He broke up play all game. He scores the winning goal. I mean, I can't lie, people. I'm tempted to give him 10 out of 10. I don't do this often, you know. I mean, it's a 9, really, but it's your first game against Man United for Arsenal. You're playing lone 6. You score the winning goal and you get man of the match. Listen, 10 out of 10, keep it moving. I don't do it often. He's getting a 10. Getting a 10. No Thomas Partey next to him. You got Havertz the ghost in front of you. He gets a 10 out of 10. Anyone see Bruno Fernandes yesterday? No. The only time you saw him was rolling around on the floor. The celebration was epic. Knee slide. Jumps into the crowd. Give him his 10, people. Give him his 10. Keep it moving. No problem. I was going to give him 9.5, but he gets a 10 for me. He won the headers. He won the tackles. He kept the ball. He never stopped running. Didn't get booked. He scores the winner and then jumps into the fans. Come on, what more do you want, people? What more do you want? Already looks like he's gone up a level to me. Already looks like he's performing at a higher level from what he was at West Ham. Yeah, Casemiro did nothing. The rat face Bruno did nothing. Eriksen, to be fair, he set up Rashford, but apart from that, he didn't do nothing. Rice was outstanding. Imagine if he had Partey next to him as well. So, 10 out of 10. No messing about. 10 out of 10. We ain't playing games, people. Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard yesterday. Do you know what? I've always liked Martin Odegaard as a player. You can't help but admire his technical ability. What I'm starting to like even more with Martin Odegaard, if I'm being honest. I always used to question his character. Can he turn up in big games? Can he turn up in difficult moments? I'm starting to see the character grow from Martin Odegaard. I thought Odegaard was excellent yesterday. His goal was fantastic. I said when the sun's out, Solargaard don't mess about. That finish was fantastic. Smashes it into the bottom corner. Great technique. I think if we go in 1-0 down at half time, it's a very difficult second half. That equaliser was vital. I'm seeing leadership from this boy now. I would give Odegaard 8 out of 10 for yesterday. I think the goal was fantastic. Some of you giving him a 9 as well. 8 out of 10, 8.5. I've given him an 8. But listen, I thought he was very good. I thought he was very good. Solargaard is, I think Martin Odegaard is now one of Arsenal's most important players. Anytime we're looking for a goal, he's the one you've got to get on the ball. It's him. And that's what I think the manager wanted Havertz to help with, is that everything is not relying on Odegaard for creativity. But of course, Havertz is doing, he's doing a disappearing act at the moment, unfortunately. But Odegaard, I agree, Ant. I think he is becoming a man. I looked at him before like he's a little, nice teenager who's, sweet boy who you can just bully in the Premier League. Right now, I think he's got a bit more aggression, a bit more, strength and power. I'm really enjoying what is happening with Martin Odegaard. And listen, as I always say, things require balance. I'm critical of Edu and Arteta when they get transfers wrong. At £35 million, Martin Odegaard is one of the best transfers that we have made since Edu and Arteta have been in tandem at the club. 35 million. I think he'd cost you I think he'd cost you at least £80 million if you sold him now. He's that good. So, and he's committed to Arsenal for a long time. So 8 out of 10 for Martin Odegaard. Mr. Rose said, I never used to see this hype. But he's technically one of our best players. Very important. I think Odegaard, genuinely, could play for every team in the Premier League. Obviously not the lower teams, but I'm talking in terms of, I think Pep would take Odegaard at City if he could have him. I think Klopp would take Odegaard. He is one of the best attacking midfielders in Europe at the moment. Left-footed, set pieces, can shoot, can pass, can dribble. He's that good. He's that good. I mean, Nunes just signed for Manchester City. He's better than Nunes. He's a top quality player. So, yeah, man, I got a lot of respect for Martin Odegaard. Definitely growing into that leader. Let's talk about the front three. I'm actually going to start with, in my opinion, I think the worst of the front three yesterday. Listen, we speak the truth on this channel, people. Sometimes they're uncomfortable conversations. I think Saka has been poor the last 2 games. I actually think he was worse last week when he obviously gave the ball away for the goal and then didn't track his man for the second one. Don't get me wrong, he tried yesterday. He didn't make any mistake that led to a goal. He wasn't bad, but he was just not... He wasn't effective. I'll give... I'm going to give Saka a 5. I'm going to give him a 5. I think he was below average. I think he should have got taken off. I thought Dalot pretty much kept him quiet yesterday. And he got booked and he should have got taken off, in my opinion. Christian said, Curtis, what do you make of the comments by Arteta regarding Havertz? He compared him to the tough time Xhaka had, the abuse Ramsdale got before he signed. Same with Vieira. Yeah, but he's got to turn it around, hasn't he? Yeah, I could even... Yeah, do you know what? I forgot about the missed chance. I'm going to give him a 4. I think that's an absolute sitter. And I have to be totally honest, right? Because let's put it into perspective. If Havertz misses that chance, I'm going absolutely insane. Although he did get an assist for Declan Rice. So that boosts it up a bit. I'm going to stick with a 5. He got the assist for Declan Rice. But I could have given him a 4 for that. If we didn't win the game, I would have given him a 4. Because we won, I let him off with a 5. Starboy tax. You know, he's carried us for 2 years. But individually, it was a below average performance. I'm going to give Saka a 5. I don't think he was terrible for me to be giving him a 4 or a 3. He definitely wasn't at his best. He got booked and I felt Dallo kept him quiet. And he missed a sitter. But, you know, he put the corner in for the winner, even though it wasn't even a great corner, but it led to the winner. So, Starboy tax, we give him a 4. But the last 2 games, he has not been great. And you know what? If you go back even further, I remember after the Crystal Palace game saying, boy, I thought Mitchell kept him quiet in that game. And then I'm talking about the Fulham game, he was really poor. Then I'm talking about yesterday, you know, I thought he was poor yesterday. So that's 3 games in a row now where I'm looking at Saka sideways and you're not even taking him off. And I think this is the biggest problem. He should have got taken off for Nelson yesterday. So he won't take him off. That's a concern for me. Hopefully Ben White being back at right back helps him. And people saying he could have got sent off for that tackle on Bruno. Let's go for Martinelli. Now, the interesting thing about Martinelli, when I watch this game back, is actually that Wan-Bissaka actually played quite well against Martinelli. But what I loved about Martinelli's performance yesterday was get at him. Get at him. Get at him every time. I'm telling you now, even though Wan-Bissaka actually did well against him, Wan-Bissaka will have been on that coach home last night or on that private jet. His legs would know you have had a long day at the office today. Because Martinelli, every time he went at him, he went at him, he went at him. He got past him a few times. He got crosses in the box. What I would have liked to have seen a couple times, maybe cut inside and have a shot. But he gave him a tough day at the office. He was the best of our front 3 yesterday. He never stopped running. You've got to always remember with Zinchenko, he doesn't have the overlap. It's down to Havertz to do what Xhaka was doing. I thought he played really well. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. I am. And I think people have to remember he got the assist for Martin Odegaard's goal. Nutmeg pass straight into Odegaard. And a brilliant finish, of course. So I'm giving Gabriel Martinelli 8 out of 10. I thought that was one of his best performances of the season. He won 6 1v1 duels against Wan-Bissaka, where he got past him. He was relentless. I would have absolutely hated playing right back against him yesterday. There's nothing worse. I remember I played right back once, and this winger, I was quite unlucky that day. I was up against some tricky winger. He ran at me. I went to win the ball, clattered him, got booked, and he just kept running at me all game, and it was a nightmare. And yeah, Wan-Bissaka will be aching this morning. I love that Martinelli performance. So I give him an 8 out of 10. Eddie, for me, do you know what? I watched the game back, and I think Eddie played quite well. During the game, I'll be honest, during the watch-along, I was a little bit critical. I didn't think he did much yesterday. In terms of chances in front of goal, okay, he didn't really have any major chance. But I thought he put a good shift in. You know, first half, I felt he could have held the ball up a little bit better against Lissandro. But he ran around, he worked hard. I'm not going to give him a 7. I don't think it was a 7. I'd give him a 6. I'm going to give him a 6.5. I'll be kind. He worked his socks off. And I'll give him a 6.5. He kept the ball. He played a part in the goal that Odegaard scored. I'll give Eddie Murphy, a.k.a. Eddie Nketiah, a.k.a. Axel Foley, a.k.a. Norbit, a.k.a. Sherman Klump. He gets a 6.5. Eddie was good, 7.5. Phil said 6. South London's finest 6. Worked hard without doing much. Eddie's a 4, said Trixie. Total Hit said Nketiah, 5, mediocre. Listen, I can give him a 6.5. He worked his socks off, but didn't really get many opportunities in front of goal. Let's go to the substitutes who were absolutely vital in this game. And listen, Nketiah was okay, but the level went up when a certain somebody came on yesterday. I mean, listen. I think you saw my reaction yesterday. I went absolutely crazy. That was, for me, I mean, the Declan Rice goal was the best because that was the winner and it felt like we'd won it then. But the Gabriel Jesus goal, I mean, I was out of control at that point. I'm telling you. I was completely out of control at that point. I was jumping up and down and screaming like a baby. It was wild. I mean, Joga Bonito, Favela Flair, as man are saying. I mean, the chop. The chop on Dalot. I mean, Dalot actually had a really good game against Saka. And he makes that darting run across the pitch and gets sent back to Lisbon Airport. I don't even know what to say. Do you know what? He's getting a high rating. He's getting a high rating. At that point, big up my bro Hakeem. I honestly didn't know I was on stream at that point. I thought I was in the stadium. I probably looked like an absolute lunatic. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. I'm sorry. I know it might sound a bit crazy for a substitute, but he came on. He held the ball up. He was twisting and turning man in the corner, and the chop. I mean, it was insane. I mean, Dalot's probably laying on a beach in Albufeira in the Algarve this morning. I mean, what was that? It was the chop of dreams, people. Honestly, it was the chop of dreams. I saw a video this morning that somebody edited. I'll look for it, actually, if I can find it. Where somebody... is it still here? The man just kept sliding. It was amazing. I'll look for it anyway. If not, I'll show it on tomorrow's stream. But he gets a 9 out of 10 for me. Listen, I think, as I said at the beginning of the stream, when I watch Gabriel Jesus, I think to myself, if you can keep this guy fit and he can add maybe another 6 or 7 goals onto his game and get close to that 20, I honestly think he's got world-class potential. But he just needs to stay fit. You've got to keep him fit. You've got to see more goals from him to get to that point where we can say he is world class. You know, it's at the moment it's the goals and the injuries that are stopping him from being called that. I've actually found the video. Let me show the chop. They better not try and do me on this one. You know what they're like online. Let me get this one up. This little edit is fantastic, by the way. So let me pull it back a bit. What an edit that is, by the way. Felix tweets now. Big him up. I give him the full credit for that one. Man sent him to another galaxy, man. He didn't even know where he was. He didn't know where he was, man. For prayers for Diego Dalot this morning, man. My prayers go out to Diego Dalot. He woke up on Neptune this morning. He don't know where he is. What a finish. Listen, it's worth playing it for that one. Anyway, let's get into the press conference reaction. Quickly, let me go through your super chats. Bleck said, big up Big C and the C Unit community. Big up to you, bro. Rish said, thoughts on Arteta defending Havertz and Eric Ten Hag humiliating Sancho. That Jadon Sancho comment from Eric Ten Hag for me is out of order because you're questioning him as a professional. You're saying that he's not putting in the work in training. Now, listen, I could be totally wrong. Maybe Sancho's been strolling around the training ground. But, yeah, I think you keep that private, man. The window's closed, you know, unless he goes Saudi, he's not going anywhere. So I thought Ten Hag dealt with that badly. I really do. And Sancho comes out with the statement saying basically that the manager's a liar. You probably won't see Sancho play another game of football for Man United. Definitely not while Ten Hag's in charge. Apparently he's a very strict coach. He's not going to accept Sancho calling him out. So listen, I respect Arteta defending Havertz, but equally he bought him. And he's only just bought him. So of course he's going to defend him. Oh, do you know what? I didn't even do the player ratings for the last 3 players. Totally Wrong with that. So Tomiyasu, Jorginho, and Nelson, I'll give a standard 6. They didn't come on for long. I thought Reece Nelson looked lively. Fabio Vieira gets an 8 out of 10. Comes on, gets another assist, and he's building, and I love to see the progress. Apologies for that. I totally forgot to do the other subs. I was so caught up on Gabriel Jesus. So yeah, I think Ten Hag's out of order. I honestly do. And you know what? Listen, I saw Andy Townsend this morning saying that Sancho should have kept quiet. But listen, for me, man, I think a little different, man. I don't think as a player you should just sit there and accept criticism publicly off your manager when you don't agree with what he's saying. I think sometimes as a player, man, you've got the platform, speak up and defend yourself. It may come at a cost. You may not kick a ball for United again with this guy in charge, but defend yourself, man. The man's saying that Sancho isn't training properly. So, listen, fair play to Sancho, man. Speak out. Defend yourself. I thought it was poor from Ten Hag. I really did. Respect Sancho for standing up for himself. Let's go get Sancho. Well, I'd rather have Sancho than Havertz, I'll tell you that. Fabio gets a 9 because he made that pass for Gabby Jesus. Arteta rating. Ooh, what we give Arteta? I mean, he didn't pick the right team because Havertz shouldn't have played. He made the substitutions very late, but ultimately Fabio gets an assist. Gabriel Jesus scores. So I'm going to give him a... He got there in the end. I'm going to give him a 7. You got there in the end, but there was some serious difficulties there, you know. Because we won the game, you get a 7. If we'd have lost, I'd be having a meltdown. I'd be giving him 2 out of 10 or something. But we got there in the end, so I'm going to give him a 7. The players probably did. A lot of you saying 6 and 5. The players got him out of the mess. But, you know, as Kevin Campbell once said, it's the players, Curtis. 6 or 7. You know, he kept Havertz on the pitch way too long. Should have probably took him off at half time. I was cracking up when Curtis called Ten Hag a boiled egg. Well, you know, it does resemble a boiled egg. O'Malley said, Saka scores that sitter and Kai does not. It's a different game. Main issue with us this season is us being clinical. You're right. Every game this season, we've missed big chances. E-Ross said, I want to see Fitz rating for Kai Havertz. Yeah, I'm not sure it would be particularly high. Has Ten Hag lost his... Has he lost his head? I think the boiled egg's still there. You know, fine margins. They could have beat us 2-1. And I think Højlund looked good when he came on. Trixie said, had Saka in my fantasy team, done nothing 4 times. Yeah, he hasn't started the season amazing after that great goal against Forest. Simon says, big up Trixie, by the way, for the super chat. Big up Simon, who says, Jesus was good, but he did lose the pass for the disallowed goal. Could have been a disaster. Fine margins. And you're right, he did lose the ball. Gunnar Live said, I put the Vibes Cartel song skate to that goal. Why not, man? Why not? I had him skating around the place. Big up yourself. Simon Paul, only people at Man U who go to training will know who is right. Yeah, and you're right. We won't know. Maybe Sancho is not putting it in, or maybe Ten Hag's totally in the wrong. And big up Seth with the super chat as well. He says, Vieira is not an 8, he's a 10. Vieira is not big enough to win headers or strong enough to win the ball back. You guys are only thinking about it offensively. Would get opened up with Vieira as an 8 over Havertz. The thing about that, I mean, our next game is Everton away. Even though Fabio Vieira is playing very well, I don't think you could turn up with Vieira and Odegaard as your 2 advanced 8s. I actually think against Everton we should go with Jorginho and Declan Rice as a conventional 2 and then play Martin Odegaard as the attacking midfielder. I wouldn't actually play 2 attacking midfielders against Everton. Everton have been poor, but Everton at Goodison always seem to find a way to bully us and beat us up. So, yeah, you've got to be very selective with that kind of performance and that kind of system. World's gone mad. Some idiots attacked Roy Keane at the stadium. It's crazy. I think I saw a clip. I think some guy, and I don't know if it's an Arsenal fan. It may be, it may not. Some guy was trying to headbutt Roy Keane towards the end of the game, and Micah Richards grabbed the guy by the shirt and all sorts. Police got involved. It was wild. Which is poor. Obviously, it happened in our stadium, so we'll have to see what happens with that. Let's get into press conference reaction from Arteta. I believe it was quite a short press conference, which is a good thing, actually, because we don't want to actually... Yeah, nice and short. Just mini waffle. I tell you what, man, you saw the way Arteta celebrated. That was a celebration of relief, because he knows, you know, a lot of people would have been criticising him if we'd have lost that game, man. I'm telling you, it could have been very, very different. Trixie said, with respect, I disagree. Arteta gets a free. He's leaving it too long to make changes. Will not be ruthless when players aren't doing it. I'm not going to give pity points just because we won. Arteta out. Oh, dear. Do you know what it is, though? The reason I've been positive, number one, we won the game. Number two, his late substitutions, even though I believe they should have come on sooner, they did get us out of the mess. Vieira gets the assist. Jesus gets the goal. So, you know, he got away with it. I understand people giving him low rating. I understand people giving him high rating. But we got away with it. He's got to be very careful. Very, very careful. Right, let's get through this waffle. Quick waffle. On if the game went according to plan, he said exactly like that. Yep, I told them yesterday that was going to happen. I didn't want to tell the crowd, so there was a bit of emotion. Obviously cracking a little waffle joke there. On how he feels, he said, great. We all work so hard and plan everything to live moments like this. Those moments are going to stick with us. See the crowd so connected with the team again and celebrating a big match like today. With the history of this clash is something great. So very happy. And it is. I said yesterday on the stream, Man United is my favourite game of the season as an Arsenal fan. You know, maybe I'm still caught up on the old days of, you know, Vieira and Keane having a scrap and you know, Omri and Van Nistelrooy competing, but I've always loved the United game, especially the home game. On not having the perfect performance, he says no, especially the goal that we gave away. We talked about losing the ball inside the first two passes against this team. You are kaput. I don't think I've ever heard him say that in a press conference. We did it again in the second half. They could have scored. It was overturned. For the rest of the game, the win, the determination, the eagerness, the way we showed that will to win, and that mentality to go. I'm so proud. On scoring late goals, he said, I prefer Bukayo to put it in the back of the net much earlier, as well as the other chances we had. But if it doesn't happen that way, it has to happen another way. And a team needs different tools. We needed the capacity to react really well in the first half. The way they scored the goal, that made the difference. I think that set the tone. Ain't it interesting, people, how he chooses to mention Saka's miss but doesn't mention Havertz's miss? He said other chances, but he doesn't actually name him. You know, he's comfortable enough to say Bukayo needs to put it in the back of the net, but doesn't say Kai Havertz needs to put it in. You know, maybe I'm looking at too much there, but just interesting how he's willing to name it. On Declan Rice's performance, he said, I think it's a tremendous performance. When you look at a holding midfielder and how he needs to dominate the area and pressing that he's needed, how he breaks up the play, glues the team together. It was stretching a little bit. It was really dominant and then produced a magic moment to win. I'm really happy. He's adopted Kai. It's official. He probably has. On Declan's mentality, he said, we did it yesterday. Your heart rate is at 80, and so today it's at 190. So to produce the same level when the pressure is on is just unique. On his leadership in the dressing room, he said he's a natural. He's a great kid. He's got a good mixture between extremely demanding with himself and a bit of banter. Whether Rice can get more goals, he said for sure. And with his technical ability, how he executed it, his accuracy, the power he generates with both legs, he can do it with both feet. On the importance of keeping momentum, he said for every team, the competition is every game. On Partey's injury, he said, I don't know. Unfortunately, he's got an injury. He will be out for a few weeks. We've now found out that's 6 weeks. He's very happy. We've played 4 games. We deserve to win all 4. It could have been different. On whether Vieira could start the next match, said every player has a chance. Today we went with Kai. We knew that Fabio would have an impact, especially later in the game. Which he did indeed. Mr. Cool Bus Driver, Curtis Watch United Views watch along, 2 minutes 24. I saw it. Reaction is epic, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. People, thank you very much for tuning in. Mun said I asked the last question. Big up yourself. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Great stream. You listen, great win yesterday. It's obviously going to be a bit quiet this week. International break. No game until next weekend. We're going to try and get a couple of collabs going. We'll look at some other stuff on some of the signings and how we can fit them in. And we'll do some different content. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you all tomorrow, people. I'll be live. I'll do 2 o'clock tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bless.